Hey everybody, Richard Road 2 here. This is a response to zombie picture shows. AD and B Gates. Um, Very difficult topic. Assisted suicide. How do I feel about it? I think a person should have the right to life, which means that if they have the right to their own life, they have the right to do with it what they will, including disposing of it. And it's not necessarily a matter of granting them the right as they have it and you can't take it away. You cannot stop somebody from committing suicide if they so choose. And that means that they are in sole possession of the termination factor of their lives. If they are in such control and you have no choice about it, then you do indeed own their lives. Now, for someone else to come along and lay a claim to another person's life, that's laying a claim. They still need to how would you say, get permission from the person who actually possesses it. They must decide whether or not to grant your claim, in other words. So that person has the ultimate decision. They can make the ultimate decision. If they don't do anything and they allow that person's claim to go through, they grant that claim. That's what they're doing. They're granting the claim, saying, okay, you have the right to my life. I have given you permission. But if they go on off themselves, they've denied it. Now, how do they off themselves? Well, there's a couple of ways of offing yourself. You could go and jump over a cliff, you could freeze to death, you could shoot yourself, you could poison yourself, or you can engage in a fight or a battle with the person who's laying claim to your life, even if it's to your death, in which case you are still in possession. That's why I think that a person has the right to their own life. The issue of cowardice. I've heard it used a lot of times in a way of trying to prevent people from committing suicide, and I think it's a stupid argument because what is cowardice? Fear? Well, then we're all cowards, right? So to say that somebody who's going to commit suicide is a worthless accusation. We're cowards. So what? We're afraid of something. Why is that not healthy? Some people may be afraid of the pain that they're going through, or afraid of not being in possession of their own ability to competently guide their own lives. Why shouldn't they be afraid of that? Why? What's wrong with being afraid of that? What's wrong with being a coward, in other words? It's a stupid label. It doesn't make any sense. I don't understand it. I never have understood it. Somebody say you're a coward. Now, granted, I will say that I think there's something cowardly about a person who goes around executing other people. That's a cowardice. I'm afraid to face other people, sort of thing. And that I know it doesn't sound right. Maybe I still have to think that one through. I take exception to the idea that's often used, playing God. I don't believe in God. I don't believe that God exists. If I thought that God exists, this so-called all-powerful, unending entity, this thing that cannot not exist, cannot cease to exist, it has no capacity to relate to beings whose lives are finite and can end. How can it? It has no way of comprehending or grasping the idea of its own existence being extinguished. You know already that I regard death as being the same as pre-life. There's no memory of it. There's no knowledge of it. That's the only experience I have to relate to death. So I don't see any real problem with death, with dying. But I have found enough in life to make it worth being here. I find it fascinating. I find it enjoyable. To be in a position such as yours, where there comes a time where you will not be competent to make those decisions, it would be best for you to be able to make a decision while you are competent, put it down and say, this is my wish, this is my decision, respect it, and assisted suicide makes sense. To say that you're going to make some unconscious entity continue to exist is such a strange sort of idea, and to start putting things on you like, oh, what about your relations, those you love who will miss you, don't want you to go. Yeah, and they're going to sit around and endure watching you become what you dreaded becoming. How could that be respectful? It may sound very much like I'm trying to encourage you to commit suicide. And I'm sure that people will interpret that way. What I am encouraging you to do is trust your own judgment. The ultimate way of the ultimate fantasy. I have my own ideas of what I would love to do. And I respect. Yes, assisted suicide. I heartily agree with it. As the Hippocratic Oath said, respect of a person or an individual's or the patient's competence. To hell with these godly, divine ethics. What we need is a humanly divine ethics. I really don't know if this contributes anything to the conversation. I've heard you say a lot that I heartily agree with in a lot of respects. Again, I don't care for the idea of the accusation of playing God. If you don't believe in God, how can you possibly play something? We do what we can do. And it has nothing to do with playing God. It just has to do with exercising your capacities. And we use our discretions based on our ability to empathize and having compassion, having all those qualities which among each of us can relate. Remember the idea of collective subjectivism being objectivity? I can relate. I don't want to see you go. I know you're going to go. I know I'm going to go. It's one of the things that perhaps that's a mark of bravery. We know where we're going. We accept that we're going. There's so many possibilities. Have I contributed? I don't know. Please. Pop. Yes. Thanks, Jesus. I can't help it. It sounds so funny. Peace and my respect.